Hey friends, Internet Land, welcome to another episode of Walk and Talk with Intune. I know I'm not walking. I was outside earlier walking and it was so noisy I couldn't get a clear recording for this video, so welcome to an episode of Sit and Talk with Intune. In today's episode, we are going to talk about, as we sit, toxicity in social media, specifically the whole comparison thing that we do, and we'll see how Intune can be helpful. As some of you may know and some may not know, I day walk as a clinical psychologist. And a few moons ago when I was in grad school, I learned about this thing called the social comparison theory, which in a very simple definition, we determine our personal and social self-worth in comparison to each other. We try to stack up against each other to get an accurate self-appraisal. Makes sense? Rewind a few 100 million years ago, trying to survive the elements in Serengeti, it was very important that we maintained our membership in our group, because if we somehow didn't, our likelihood of survival goes way, way down. So what does that mean? We need to have an accurate appraisal of where we stand, and we need to put our best foot forward. So a byproduct, I believe, is that I need to know where my strengths and weaknesses are so I can work on that stuff, so I can prove to the group that I'm a worthy member or I'm not a threat, so you won't kick me out. Fast forward a few 100 million years, unfortunately our digital technology, our social culture technology evolved a lot quicker than our biological technology. So basically what that means is that our survival system, that fight, flight, freeze, faint, gets triggered, I think, a lot quicker than it did back then. Because our biology evolves a lot slower, our system isn't as updated, and that thing goes into overdrive. And now we find ourselves doing a social comparison thing online. It's hard to get an accurate appraisal in person to person because we put our best foot forward. It's even harder when we do it in social media because we take these images and we curate. It's like a highlight reel. When we meet people, we meet people's highlight reel to an extent. It's harder to be vulnerable because it takes more courage. It's a little bit more dangerous to show our vulnerabilities because, people could take advantage of it, or it can make us more stronger, so on and so forth. So the reason why it results in toxicity, because comparing ourselves is a way to motivate in order to, live our best lives and survive and thrive. It can take to an extreme, which starts to have the reverse effect and be debilitating, cause paralysis. And in order to get through this, we have to understand, what does toxicity look like for ourselves? I know that I do the comparing above and below others on social media, and I know when it's becoming toxic is I start to get a sense of intensity in my body, anxiety, depression, worry, I don't have enough money, I'm not going to do well, I fucked my life up, so on and so forth. And it doesn't motivate me. It causes me to feel isolated, alone, and I contract, feel like there's no hope. A way to combat this, and we see this, a helpful example is 12-step, AA, NA, other self-help groups, is that in order to reduce social comparison is they look at similarities. The reason why those groups work so well is that even though everyone comes from a different walk of life, how can they all relate to each other? Well, they have this commonality that they have a hard time dealing with life, and they used alcohol or drugs or behaviors to deal with it. And having that commonality, they look more for the similarities and the feeling. So they paid less attention to content, more attention to like the feeling and that connection, and they help each other and they thrive and they recover from these things that were so debilitating. How can we recreate that? Because what winds up happening is we build this habit that every time I pick up my phone, I go on social media, I look to compare, and time one, time two, I keep doing this comparison thing, I'm more likely to repeat that behavior and cause more stress, more toxicity in my life. I need to learn how to create a new behavior, a new habit, by looking at similarities. And one way to do that is through meditation to music. But not just any kind of music, it's the music that we love. Reason being, music is a commonality that we have across culture, and it's universal. We've been making music or having some sort of music in our lives since we washed up onto dry land. We find it in every culture around the world since the test of time. And if there isn't, I'm mistaken, please add to the conversation. And we can look at that, it'd be fun. Anyways, music is this universal language that we all can relate to no matter what it is. This thing that connects us to it can go beyond words, can go beyond the cultural divides that might be there. And it has been a source of motivation and all this other stuff. It does wonders for us. And when we can find out at a more in-depth level our relationship, and we share it with each other, because in tune we share the music and our experience with our meditation to music, it allows us to be vulnerable in a safe space and connect with each other. So the more I pick up my phone, go on social media with the intention in connecting and looking for these similarities and sharing, I do that time one, time two, I build this habit. It starts to turn the volume down on the comparison and turn the volume up on the connected piece. Now, I'm not saying that these things go away. I'll never stop socially comparing. It's a survival mechanism. It's hardwired. I'm not going to change it. It's very helpful when I can use it in a skillful way, but sometimes when you use it unskillfully, and that's okay, having an understanding that this is just the nature of things helps out a great deal. We can just use a tool to help update our system, because digital technology, social cultural technology, is far more evolved than our biology, and it's always going to be a little bit in front just on the speed things evolve. Understanding this helps us get through the world a little bit better. I'm drawing a blank at the moment. There'd be more to say on this, but here are some thoughts as we sat and talked about this. Hopefully this was helpful. Now I encourage you all to go out into the world and do as you see fit. Leave a comment if you want to talk. Any questions or concerns, DM me, call me, whatever. Talk to y'all later. Bye.